Hundreds of volunteers and workers who helped organize the Final Four. News 36's Joey Popp wraps up the 5 days of positive national exposure.
The last job on the Street of Champions to proclaim the champion. Hours earlier, crews worked till dawn to take away the carnival-like atmosphere on Tryon Street and return it to a corporate setting. Charlotte's Final Four may be history, but the reviews are still coming in.
It was fantastic. Everybody here was so nice to us, and the motels, and we had buses that took us everywhere, and we came down here on the street and we enjoyed it, and you guys did a great job.
Final Four enthusiasm the day after carried over into half-off souvenir sales. This temporary retail store proved to be a real hot spot. And inside, as one customer put it, it's like a zoo. While Final Four fever refuses to go down, organizers echo visitors' words about Charlotte's success. Figures aren't in yet, but it appears Charlotte exceeded the projected $33 million for the local economy.
All of our estimates were probably on the low side. The one negative that I have heard is that some of the restaurants in the outlying areas that weren't near centers of activity didn't fare as well as we'd hoped.
But all in all,
Charlotte did fantastic. It was a great city to get around in.
I will say this, there's no way it can be any better than this.
In Charlotte, Joey Popp, News 36 at 6.
Now, if you're wondering what will happen to all those Final Four banners hanging around town, well, there's talk today they might be auctioned off. We'll keep you posted.
Today, News 36 reporter Joey Popp visited Cleveland County to see how the health care crisis is being handled over there.
Let's go.
Last spring, residents of Cleveland County were invited to tag along with Dr. Bobby Jones in an effort to understand the workload and dire need for more physicians in the area. At the same time, Cleveland Memorial Hospital started a recruitment program. Well, during that time period, the hard work has paid off. Dr. Jones has found another partner.
Well, I was interested in living in a small town, and it's worked out pretty well for me.
Dr. Chris Denning is one of 14 new doctors to locate in Shelby since last spring. All work in private practice and or Cleveland Memorial Hospital. Patients hope that means change.
You call a doctor, you get a doctor off a week, 2 weeks before you can get an appointment.
But there's still a shortage of medical care here. The hospital is offering incentives to recruit 8 more doctors.
Moving expenses, getting them located. If a physician wishes to start his own practice, then we advance a loan guarantee type income to get them started.
And mostly it's institutional.
President Clinton's health care package also calls for incentives to get doctors to rural areas, like offering a $12,000 tax credit and helping pay off college expenses.
Any financial incentive would be positive.
We're talking money, basically, and we're talking things that make it easier to practice in a small town.
Now, Cleveland Memorial Hospital is expected to start up soon a rural residency program tied in with Carolina's Medical Center. This will give residents the chance to test market a small community in hopes they will be more inclined to locate to one later. After all, only 7% of all graduates practice medicine in rural America. Rick?
And as we all know, a lot more people than 7% do live there. Thank you, Joey Popp, reporting tonight from the newsroom.
Backyard, but a controversy in Lincoln County has a little more drama to it than just that.
Some residents actually claim dirty politics is afoot here, involving a very heated land dispute. Here's Joey Popp.
Last summer, Commissioner David Clark Jr. removed himself from voting on an issue because it was perceived as a conflict of interest. His father owned property that was being considered for a county trash dump, also known as a convenience site. Now another controversy, and this time Clark did cast his ballot. It involves hundreds of acres of his father's property, rezoned from residential to industrial. Nearby residents are outraged.
I was told personally by Mr. David Clark Sr. when I moved out there in the late 80s that he was going to build a subdivision over there of approximately 400 homes.
But that's only half Hinson and his neighbors' concerns. They see David Clark Jr.'s vote as a conflict of interest. The rezoning passed 3-2.
We don't understand why he, thought he could vote on this and get this done.
I just don't see how anybody, a reasonable person, could possibly think that there was no conflict of interest whatsoever.
David Clark Jr. doesn't see it that way. He claims to have no connections to his father's land, and as a commissioner, he's doing his job.
What the assistant county attorney told me is that basically I may be bound to vote. I should have probably voted on the track that involved the convenience site. That as long as I had no financial or legal interest in it, that I should.
But these families whose land borders that of Clark's father still can't buy the idea of industry moving in next door.
I'm scared for my kids that something's going to be built over there that's going to harm them.
Now, residents are also concerned that the new Highway 16 will run through David Clark Sr.'s property, and that will entice even more industrial growth. David Clark Jr. welcomes that.
We need additional industrial development.
Well, David Clark Jr. says he can see why there would be an ethical question about his voting, but as he says, he's bound to carry out his job as a commissioner. In the meantime, some residents of East Lincoln County are spearheading a petition drive to try and oust Clark as a commissioner. His term expires at the end of 1996. And Kathy and Rick, I just got off the phone before we went on the air here with David Clark Sr. He says he never promised the residents that it would be a subdivision. He hopes for an industrial development park.
Okay.
All right.
Keep us up to date. Thanks, Joey. Former student is accused of killing by using his feet. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Rick Jackson.
And I'm Alicia Booth. Police are investigating just how much martial arts training a Gastonia teen got.
Yesterday, the Hunter Huss High School student was charged in the fatal brutal beating of another teen. News 36 reporter Joey Popp has more.
18-year-old Corey Johnston is charged with murder. Police say he came up from behind and attacked an acquaintance in the Eastridge Mall parking lot after the two confronted one another. An autopsy shows Harold Wayne Burnett died from a brain hemorrhage as a result of a blow to the head. Police say Johnston kicked him several times, even when Burnett fell to the ground helplessly. An assistant district attorney calls it an unprovoked, vicious attack.
Corey, you sorry about this?
Today, his parents said Johnston had limited training in kickboxing. What degree did he have in martial arts?
None. None whatsoever. He had kickboxing for a little while when he was about 12 years old, and that's all.
Did he have proper training in that?
No. He just 2 or 3 months when he was just a kid.
Police want to know just how much training Johnston learned. The question may be if he abused his skills or was properly instructed. Proper karate and box kicking instruction in this country is a self-defense to teach self-confidence and control. Only in the military is it used for a tactic to kill.
It's easier for a person to walk away than it is to fight, and it takes a real man many times to do that, and that's what martial arts teaches you.
He always tells us not to try to kill anybody or, damage anybody permanently. But
were you out of control when all this happened? Now, at this time, the state is going after second-degree murder charges. This afternoon, the judge set a $100,000 bond for Johnston. At this hour, he's still in the Gaston County Jail. A probable cause hearing is scheduled for next Thursday. Rick?
Joey, is there just not enough evidence for first-degree murder charges?
That's something we wanted to know. The district attorney says at this time, no, but as the investigation continues, first-degree murder charges are possible. Now, today, a detective told the judge Johnston told a friend he was going after Burnett before the attack happened. Even so, at this time, the district attorney doesn't believe that's enough evidence to show he had premeditated murder in mind.
Okay, keep us up to date. Thank you, Joey Popp reporting.
Bombshell of a revelation about cigarettes. Chemicals too hazardous for food are being allowed in cigarettes. So says the federal government, but, says the tobacco industry, Uncle Sam is exaggerating. News 36's Joey Popp has this stormy report.
We've been warned for years that lighting up isn't healthy. Well, now there may be 13 more reasons not to. National Public Radio has obtained from a secret list 13 chemicals used in tobacco approved by the government, ranging from pesticides to household cleaners. Will you stop smoking as a result of this?
I have tried, and it's hard. It might push me, more towards trying to quit now that I know all this.
Now, federal law prohibits the government from releasing this list, but there are as many as 700 additives that tobacco companies report each year.
We know that there are some very lethal things that are forbidden by FDA to be used in foods, for example. So if you take it out of the food chain, it makes pretty good sense to take it out of something you inhale.
Even so, not all smokers are fazed by the report.
Anything else that's got chemicals in it, I think it's just a target of opportunity, really, for all the do-gooders of this country.
I think it's just another attack on tobacco. It's obviously someone has an agenda.
2 of the named chemicals cause liver damage and convulsions when tested on animals.
There are ingredients there that are so toxic that you couldn't put them in a landfill according to the federal environmental rules.
But the tobacco industry says the approved chemicals aren't harmful.
The levels the ingredients are used, it doesn't pose a health threat to smokers.
The controversy will be the topic of a Senate hearing next week. Joey Popp, News 36 Nightcast.
A rock slide partially blocked Interstate 40 near the Tennessee border. News 36's Joey Popp traveled to Haywood County today to check out the damage.
Tons of rock tumbled overnight to temporarily close westbound Interstate 40 near Harmon-Den, 8 miles from Tennessee. The falling rocks caused one accident. A tractor-trailer could not avoid the slide. However, the driver was not hurt.
It knocked front wheel stuff out, and that's where he ended up, over and against the wall.
Rock slides in this area certainly aren't rare. Just 12 years ago, a slide threatened tourism traffic to Knoxville's World's Fair back in '82. And 9 years ago, just down the way, a rock slide 100,000 tons worth actually closed Interstate 40 for 2 weeks. This nearby spring waterfall is one of many in these mountains this time of year, a clear indication how saturated the earth is. Such conditions contribute to rock slides.
It falls. There, rain, stuff like this, we get them pretty often like this. Maybe small ones, maybe big ones. It just depends.
When the slides hit, the work crews hit the roads. Tourism and commercial traffic take top priority.
Well, yeah, if something like this happens, why they just get on as quick as they can. It's important to keep it open if we can. It's tall. Very seldom ever close it unless, like several years ago when the tunnel fell in, there wasn't nothing you could do about it.
Both westbound lanes are expected to be open by nightfall. Eastbound traffic is currently not affected. However, one lane was initially blocked. The slide happened at 9 o'clock last night. It did cause traffic tie-ups, but by this morning, even with one westbound lane open, traffic moved quickly and safely. Alicia?
It's good to hear things are getting back to normal. Thanks, Joey.
Dr. Pepper got its name. Actually, it came from a pharmacist who lived not too far from here.
All right, well, today he was remembered as his drugstore closed its doors for the last time. We sent our Joey Popp to Dr. Pepper's hometown.
Time doesn't stand still, even in a place like rural Retreat, Virginia. This old drugstore door is about to swing open for the last time.
We just don't have the volume. The insurance companies just don't reimburse us enough, and the bigger places like Walmart and Kmart, they're just taking our business.
As Shirley Hawthorne now looks for work, she reminisces about this drugstore's history. This is where Dr. Charles Pepper opened his pharmacy after the Civil War. Residents say this is where he came up with a soft drink recipe. But it was a former employee who headed to Texas, perfected the drink, and named it for his old boss. Such a story prompted a Dr. Pepper executive from the Lone Star State to be here this last day.
It's always a chapter that's intrigued everyone in Texas because there's always been a Virginia-Texas connection with the Dr. Pepper story.
But don't look for the drugstore to turn into a tourist attraction. There's already a Dr. Pepper museum in Texas.
We didn't have the resources to create 2 museums, and that's the shame of it, because this is such a property of great institution.
Ball did bring pictures and history about the town's most famous son, but still, residents are hurt this drugstore is closing.
Oh, I hate to see it close.
Like a heritage for us, too.
So, as the doors close, so does a chapter of American history. But here on top of this building, the old sign acknowledging Dr. Pepper will remain in rural Retreat, Virginia. It wasn't Pepper who came up with the advertising campaign 10, 2, and 4, but the idea came from other doctors.
There was another medical study that said the human body should have nourishment at 10, 2, and 4 to be at your peak efficiency. So the Dr. Pepper marketing staff decided that we would be a liquid bite to eat.
This old building will now become a florist, but the days prescriptions were filled appear long gone. Just another memory like that of Dr. Pepper himself.
Hopefully, one day we'll be back.
In rural Retreat, Virginia, Joey Popp, News 36 at 6.
That's really interesting. I never knew where it came from.
Thanks so much for watching tonight.
Have a good evening.
For 6 years now, tons of construction debris have piled up on private land in a rural section of Gaston County.
But recently, neighbors have started complaining. Now the state stepped in to settle this dispute. Joey Popp has the story.
This part of Gaston County outside Stanley is where horses, trees, and fresh air fill the countryside. This is probably the last site someone would expect to find, a dumping ground for solid waste.
It's just an eyesore, and it's really ugly, and also just the fact that it's not right.
And besides it being an eyesore here in the rural section of Gaston County, one resident has a health concern.
Nobody knows what's in here. They come and go late in the evening, early mornings.
Today, state and county inspectors met with the owner of the property, Bill McNoll. About an hour later, an order for cleanup came down.
Burying would be illegal. Now, storing on top of the ground in the hope of recycling later is what he is telling us that his goal was, and it just didn't work out.
McNoll will accept the order, but doesn't believe he's ever been in violation of the law. When he obtained the property, he did file for a dump permit. He was given a temporary license, but the county inspector says a permanent permit was never granted, and therefore the county considers this an illegal dump.
The rock will be buried, and the dirt will be buried, and the stumps will be buried, and the wood will be buried. Anything that can't be buried will be removed from the property.
Now, the state inspector admits it took a long time to discover the dump. Property owner McNoll says it will take several weeks to clean it up, and he doesn't know what he'll do with the land afterwards. Now, residents like Farrell are pleased with today's news. He feels by sounding off, he's been heard, and it's paid off.
Sometimes it does. Thanks, Joey. 5 women across the Tar Heel State are running for sheriff in their respective counties.
One of those counties is near Charlotte. News 36's Joey Popp takes us to Lincolnton and introduces us to the woman that could be the next sheriff there.
She may not fit the typical description of a 10-year veteran chief deputy, but the lady with the pretty smile in relaxed clothes now wants the sheriff's office.
I've been in fights, I've been in situations where there have been guns and knives involved, and I've been clobbered a few times, as any officer has. And I don't think that that necessarily makes somebody qualified to be the sheriff.
So Pickens will depend on her 23 years of Sheriff's Department experience and an understanding of the county's needs as her qualifications. At least one of her 3 male Republican candidates wants his qualifications known too and wants to keep gender out of the primary race.
All I'm doing is trying to run on my qualifications, my experience, and what I have to offer the Sheriff's Department and the citizens of Lincoln County. I don't believe it's a male or female issue.
I have tried to keep gender out of this. I don't think gender should play a part. I think people should base their support on a person's qualifications, whoever the candidate is.
Whoever the winner, the new sheriff faces growing pains. The soon-to-be-open Highway 321 is an example of how communities surrounding Charlotte are booming.
Going to bring more business. Hopefully it'll bring more industry. Unfortunately, it may even bring more crime into the county.
Now, we tried but could not reach the other 2 Republican primary candidates, David Hefner and Roger Mullis. By the way, 5 men are running for the Democrat ticket. None of the 9 candidates fall into the incumbent category, however. Current Sheriff Joe Kaiser is running for State House this year. Alicia?
That's a race we'll be watching. Thanks a lot, Joey.
Is at the Charlotte Knights baseball stadium.
What's this? Business people taking their business to the ballpark? Yes, it is. Baseball taking on a new look at the castle. Ties, even suits. More than welcome this year.
And once a month, the Charlotte Knights will play early afternoon games. It's something new for the working person. News 36's Joey Popp shows us how it worked out today.
What a great day to leave the office, head down the road, and act like kids again. But business can't be put on hold either.
Did you bring that phone? No. You think we need it?
Yeah, you might close some business in there today. In the days of portable phones, why not take in some fun and add business to it at the same time?
It's a chance to get out here and spend a little bit of extra time around lunchtime with some of your clients or your friends, and I think it's a good idea if they can get the word out.
More than 2,500 fans, mostly non-business people, got the word today, a far cry from a sellout. But the Knights hope the monthly matinee catches on.
This is something that if we have success with, we'll continue to do. Wednesdays generally is not a real big night for us. If we have a 7:30 game, it's not one of our bigger nights. So why not try to do something a little bit different to see if it'll work? And This year we'll try it 5 times, see where it goes, and react from it.
So just in case anybody's looking for me this afternoon.
And for those who didn't bring their own phone, the Knights are opening up their lines as well as this fax machine to entice more business people. But not everybody out is looking to turn a dollar. We found other professionals just kicking back, like the NBA's Brent Price, before he takes on the Hornets tonight.
I'm getting an early start on my summer tan and just relaxing and watching some good baseball.
And whether you're in shorts or a business suit, that's what the ballpark's all about. Joey Popp, News 36 at 6. Case, just how much pollution is allowed by law. The government says too much in what it's calling a profitable scheme, but the defendants are saying they only did what was permitted. However, if convicted, the 3 Charlotte men could face up to 24 years each in federal prison. The FBI raided Cherokee Resources Incorporated back in 1991, and for the next 2 years, the government monitored the business. The company's purpose, to take industrial waste, treat it, and then dispose it. But 2 years later, federal prosecutors handed down 8 indictments in violation of the Clean Water Act. The government is out to prove company president Keith Eatson, vice president Gabe Hartzell, and bookkeeper Ted Glauser formed a conspiracy to dump untreated waste into a toilet and sewer system. The defendants argue they are innocent and test samples collected are inaccurate. Plus, they question why the government granted additional permits to operate if they were conducting business in a wrong way. The jury started deliberating shortly after 3 o'clock today. They just asked the judge that if they don't finish by 6 o'clock tonight, they'd like to come back at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Kathy?
Well, Joey, if they are convicted, when will they be sentenced?
Probably within 6 weeks.
Okay, Joey Popp reporting live from the federal courthouse.
Support that we're going to get for the NFL is just beyond anybody's comprehension, and this is a wonderful day for us.
Fans and top officials agree with Jerry Richardson, down-to-earth proof that football is on its way to Charlotte. Good evening, I'm Kathy Riley. Years of dreaming took a foothold in reality today, and how appropriate. It even felt like football weather, at least just a bit. Area leaders, the Jerry Richardson family, and fans broke ground today for the $160 million NFL stadium. News 36's Joey Popp joins us now from the site. Joey?
Kathy, it still feels like football weather. Behind me, a new sign going up of what this stadium will look like in 2 years. But behind me right now, the 33 acres, mostly a dust bowl. Work is continuing even at this hour. But as what happened today in groundbreaking ceremonies, imaginations were allowed to run wild as to what this place could look and sound like opening day. Right in the middle of all the pomp and circumstance that featured elected officials, a make-believe audio tape filled the outdoor speakers. A time to dream of opening day.
The fans here standing in unison. What a moment this is. The Panthers are playing their first game in Carolina Stadium, and the Richardson dream is now complete.
Since April of 1987, it's just an incredible thing that I think that we're going to be doing today. I think it's going to be a huge positive impact for the Carolinas.
Well, before it's all said and done, it's projected it will take more than 1 million man-hours to finish this project by 1996. Workers are counting on dry days like this. As far as today, warmer temperatures would have been more welcomed for groundbreaking visitors.
When I boarded a plane at 6 o'clock this morning in Washington, I thought I was coming to the South. They said it would be a cold day in hell when we got an NFL team, and it is.
But chilly or not, what a day for the fans to think of having fun down the road. Coming off the heels of a successful Final Four weekend, Charlotte's uptown streets may come alive again for every home game.
There's no doubt about it. I just hope that Charlotte will open up for the restaurants to carry on like they did at the Final Four.
And while there are dreams of what could be, how about the ultimate? The Panthers open against Dallas, and here's the opening kickoff.
Garner with one man to beat at the Cowboy 45, 40, 35. No one will catch Charlie Garner. 10, 5, touchdown, Carolina Panthers.
Well, it's enough to give you goosebumps, if not that, this chilly weather. Of course, the stadium will not be ready the first season. The team will be playing at Clemson in '95. Kathy, that's just 16 months away.
All right. Well, Joey, there are still more PSLs, permanent seat licenses, to sell. Do the Richardsons expect to sell out?
They do expect to sell out. They have about 10,000 more to sell. Jerry Richardson, and I asked him that today, he said that he thinks it's incredible that more than 50,000 have sold without a team and a coach. And by the way, Kathy, I asked him who the coach will be. He declined to say.
All right, nice try anyway. Thank you. Joey Popp reporting from the site of the NFL Stadium. Underway today.
And News 36's Joey Popp joins us live now from the future home of the Panthers.
You better believe it, Rick. A proud day for team owner Jerry Richardson, unlike a few months ago when his food company reportedly took a financial hit. But today he tells me that was a bookkeeping error, and by no means should the Panthers' financial situation ever be in question. Now, the reason why we're here today, part of his investment, the $160 million stadium, is set for completion in 2 years.
Support that we're going to get for the NFL is just beyond anybody's comprehension, and this is a wonderful day for us.
It felt like opening kickoff around the corner, but instead it was a mound of dirt about to be turned. Nonetheless, top officials and fans can only dream of what will be.
I wasn't a big fan of football, but now since it's right here, I'm beginning to become a bigger fan. And my husband loves it, so I have to like it.
Even before the groundbreaking, work was underway here on the 33 acres for the stadium and adjacent practice fields.
Everyone that bought a PSL, I hope each time that you'll come by, you'll say, that's my stadium. I helped make that happen.
The highlight of the ceremony, a fantasy audio tape of what opening day may sound like.
From Carolina Stadium, we welcome you back as we approach the kickoff in the Panthers home opener in one of the most powerful and beautiful football facilities ever.
Back to reality, top officials stood where the dream will come alive in 2 years.
And I'm proud to be here with Jerry Richardson and all of you to make some history.
Now, of course, the stadium will make a mark here, adding to Charlotte's skyline. It will stand 14 stories high. It will offer a state-of-the-art audio and video system, offer 13 elevators and 68 toilet facilities.
And you've probably checked out your seats already, right?
I'm in the upper deck. I'd like to know where that is.
Okay, thanks, Joey.
Hickory's entire school board will be hearing about the incident during tonight's meeting.
But earlier today, the son went before a court judge, and now he's out on bond. News 36 talked with him and his dad today. Joey Popp has the story.
20-year-old Fred Thompson now faces serious felony charges, carrying a concealed 9mm pistol without permit on school grounds.
I just had some extra money, bought it through the Iwana paper, and I just had it. Like I said, I was going to sell it. I had it in my car, and I just forgot all about that it was in my car, and I got caught with it.
It happened Friday afternoon here in the student parking lot of Hickory High. Police say they were tipped that the superintendent's son had a gun in the car. Thompson isn't a student, but police say he was there to visit a friend. Besides the gun, police found a box of ammunition in the trunk, plus...
Well, in the vehicle, there was a cooler with about 21 beers in it as well.
Grace says Thompson's been in trouble with the law before, but never this serious. His dad, Superintendent Stuart Thompson, who endorses gun and drug-free schools, is hurt.
We don't tolerate weapons on any of our campuses, anywhere, for any reason.
And as a parent, your message?
That's between my son and me, but he knows this is wrong, and he's very sorry about it.
Students are hurt, too.
He's been doing a lot of stuff, and he just finally got caught. It all came up to him.
It's sort of scary.
It's a shame that somebody wants to come back on campus and just they're not even like going to school here. So I mean, they shouldn't be coming back on campus.
Thompson is currently unemployed and lives at home. His next court appearance is set for next month. His father does have a closing message for other parents.
What I would say to any parent is, you can't predict what's coming, but you have to deal with it.
In Hickory, Joey Popp, News 36 at 6.
3 stories above Charlotte is one of the Carolinas' secret and very inaccessible sites. But hold on, you're about to catch a glimpse.
Can't wait.
One of the bonuses of working in television is uncovering secrets. So all this week, we'll be going places that are normally off limits.
So through the camera, we'll focus on some of the secret sites of the Carolinas. Where will we go? Joey Popp has a sneak preview.
Our first stop, the Federal Reserve Bank in Charlotte. We'll walk through the vault and take an exclusive look. News 36 is the first television crew given permission to show where millions of dollars are stored every day. Come Wednesday, get ready to climb a little. We'll take you on another exclusive tour, this time on top of the highest man-made peak between Philadelphia and Atlanta. This is Charlotte's 60-story Nations Bank Corporate Center.
I don't know that there will be one taller with all the effort that we had to go through to get this building passed by the FAA.
Okay, Hornets fans, don't miss Thursday. We'll spend some candid moments with Kenny Gaddison.
This is Gatman right here.
This is it. I like to put my...
We'll follow the Gatman to his new South Charlotte home under construction, to his practice locker.
This is the end of the season cleanup.
But we'll first meet him behind the scenes of his own restaurant, specifically in the kitchen.
I told the staff, I said, I want you to fix every meal like you're cooking it for me.
And speaking of behind the scenes, our final trip goes backstage at the Belk Theater in the North Carolina Blumenthal Performing Arts Center.
This is our star dressing room.
A few surprises are unveiled here in our other locations this week as we take in the secret sights of the Carolinas. Joey Popp, News 36 at 6.
And Joey says there's also some kind of a surprise inside the Blumenthal Performing Arts Center. That is later this week.
The Mooresville Tribune. Each week, his paper crams in 120 local stories, and he wouldn't leave this job for the world.
Because you never know when you're going to be dealing with the mayor or dealing with a farmer who brings in a award-winning squash or something like that.
In Mooresville, a couple's engagement, wedding, and newborn babies are chronicled by Juanita Davis, the women's editor for nearly 40 years. She'll also cover the child's birthday parties, graduation, and wedding engagement to start the cycle all over again.
As a matter of fact, I had a lady the other day to tell me all of her children are grown, but I did all of their weddings. And that makes me feel good because she was real proud of it, you know.
Oh, there's a oxen yoke when you used to plow oxen.
Around the corner from the Tribune is the D.E. Turner Hardware Store, a meeting place for old friends, a museum of sorts for old objects, and the oldest business still operating here.
The store has been here since 1899. It started before there's electricity downtown. They put the store here, and a couple years later they added electricity down the main street and they put it in the ceiling like you see up overhead.
In 1910 on Main Street, the Good Road Boosters embarked on a road trip. Their goal to go to Hickory and back in one day's time.
This depot is where the town of Mooresville began almost 150 years ago, and this is where the Good Road Boosters began their trip. Now Mooresville is trying to hold on to its small town quaintness, but not everyone here wants to live life in the slow lane.
Bahari Racing owns the cars that Michael Waltrip races around the track. Its home is the Lakeside Industrial Park. Other teams call the park home as well.
We have 6 full-time Winston Cup teams operating and 4 part-time Winston Cup teams operating. So this is very much the hotbed of Winston Cup racing as far as the team's operation. We're just happy to be here in Mooresville.
Next time, we'll look at the paper from the county that once reached over to the Mississippi River. Michael Brudell, News 36, First News.
That looks wonderful. It really does.
That store looks like a great place to go visit.
I like life in the slow lane.
Yeah.
That sounds good, I think.
Speaking of visit, who comes to mind?
I think for most people, probably Milton Berle, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the 85-year-old showman has been recently working here in the Carolinas, of all places.
And, of course, who else but Joey Popp caught up with him at the Inspirational Network right here in Charlotte.
Makeup! Makeup!
Come July, he'll be 86 years young, and still, Uncle Milty is always ready to crack a joke.
I don't know if you know this or your viewers know it, but I signed, in 1951, I signed a lifetime contract with NBC. It expired 10 years ago. And joke.
And you're stronger than ever, right?
Well, I feel wonderful. I got a young wife. She's not even 50 yet, and I got material older than her.
Lorna Burl is his manager and wife of 3 years, but long before she entered his life, Mr. Television entered just about all our lives on his variety show. Sadly, the variety format, he believes, is long gone.
You'll never be able to do a variety show because it's too expensive. Today we have, bless her, maybe Madonna, who goes out and wiggles and gets 29 million. You know what I mean? And there's no show can afford that.
And what about today's television? The Harlem native is tired of sitcoms, plus...
But I get embarrassed to hear all the 4-letter words and the smut. I just don't like it. And they don't need it. They don't need it. If the joke is funny, it'll stand on its own.
For the man who helped pave the way for today's comics, here's his example of clean joke telling.
This is Monday, and George Burns is getting dressed right now to go out next Sunday.
You can't help but love Milton Berle. He even wanted to give us direction during our interview, especially in what we call the cutaway shots.
Just give me a nod. I know the whole shtick. I know the whole thing.
We're going to get
a news program, and somebody's going to get murdered in Newark, and this will be off. You're rolling, honey?
Yes, I am.
And rolling along is Milton Berle.
Joey, glad to see you.
With Mr. Television, Joey Popp, News 36 First News.
He was directing Stephanie Johnston, the camera person, and just going crazy. He is Mr. Television. He really is.
He's having a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Here's can be stored in this vault.
That's right here in Charlotte. It is also one of the secret sites of the Carolinas, a place the general public is normally not permitted. They did let us in, though, and we're featuring it tonight. Did you know that millions and millions of dollars are destroyed or counted, inspected in Charlotte every day? Did you know that?
I know now. Okay. Because of the special report we have, Secret Sites of the Carolinas, Joey Popp takes us inside the Trade Street branch of the Federal Reserve. Tonight, News 36 becomes the first TV station ever permitted inside the vault.
Talk about heavy security. Locked doors and armed officers protect millions of dollars coming in from banks across the Carolinas. To get into the vault, only a select few employee cards have access. Inside, dozens of carts known as buses.
We take them, fill them up, and then put them in here overnight, and then count them during the daytime.
So, say how much would be in a bus like this?
If it's all ones, it'll be about $300,000. If it's all tens, it'd be, what, 30 million.
Imagine the money stored in this room. We couldn't get a definite answer, so we'll settle for...
With a vault this size, millions and millions of dollars can be stored in this vault.
We aren't allowed to show you the faces of the employees whose job it is to handle the money. And if you're wondering if temptation ever hits them, eyes are watching that never blink.
We have a very sophisticated camera system that's filming everything that's going on.
So we really don't think about the value of the currency while we're in here each day. We're just trying to do the job.
And just what are their jobs? Workers here count currency. They also feed money into equipment to detect counterfeit bills, and...
This is the computers that sort the currency down into fit and unfit. They take it out of the buses, put it into the machine. The unfit currency we destroy, cut it in small pieces, and it goes on out the building.
Now, $20 million are shredded in Charlotte a day alone. And to give you some idea what that may look like, this bag holds $500,000.
The Charlotte Federal Reserve is one of 37 across the country, but the 6th largest. A strong regional economy is the reason. Tomorrow, a trip to one of the banks that sends its money here, an exclusive top-of-the-tower tour of Nations Bank Corporate Center. Joey Popp, News 36 at 6.
Joey brought back no samples, and by the way, the average life of a $1 bill is just 17 months.
Common accidents that you see. It's Operation Lifesaver Awareness Day, and you probably are not aware of what that means, but I think Rick will tell you.
Yeah, look, listen, and live. We hear the phrase, there's a clue there. A whistle might be a clue as well. News 36's Joey Popp solves the rest of your puzzle.
This is only a demonstration, the only one of its kind in the U.S. this year, but set up to look like the real thing. Operation Lifesaver is an educational program hoping this dramatic demonstration leaves a lasting impression.
I think no good antibody have survived.
And just like the real thing, emergency workers arrive moments later. And even for the train engineer, the collision felt like the 11 previous real accidents he's seen.
Once again, it's very, very helpless, and when you've had it happen a number of times, things flash through your mind. You know what's going to happen. You know what you're going to see when you go out on the front of the locomotive.
Last year, North Carolina led the country in car-train collision deaths, 16 in all.
We're 9th in the nation now, and I think it's because of the education that we've brought forth by doing Officer on the Train events, media events. It's really helped educate the public.
And for the many onlookers, such an event has taught a lesson.
I'd be careful to stop, look, and listen.
In Moore County, Joey Popp, News 36 First News.
They tell us a car-train accident happens every 90 minutes somewhere in the United States. Each year, about 600 people lose their lives.
The Nations Bank Tower, the crowning jewel of the Queen City.
And in tonight's special report, Secret Sights of the Carolinas, News 36's Joey Popp takes us to the top. It's a first for any television crew since the building has been open.
Getting to the top isn't this fast and certainly not that easy. Our trip starts in the lobby with an escort by top management. In no time, express elevators take us 60 stories up. But this isn't the top. A stairway leads to a locked door that opens into what looks like a man-made cave, the equivalent of an additional 3 stories. Welcome to the inside of the Crown. And to get to the top, it's a straight climb up from layer to layer. The final steps up take you to the circle of aluminum spheres. But don't get too close to the edge.
And there's literally nothing here to prevent me from falling.
Well, you would only go down the 10 feet to the next layer, and then eventually you could bounce off the building.
Believe me, George, I would bounce.
There are 250 lights on the Crown. Above them all, the red warning light. It's already been changed in the year and a half since the tower's been open.
It's fairly simple to get down. You have to just crank down the arm here, and it folds in half, and then we can change the beacon light.
You don't do it with a shirt and tie on, do you?
No, I direct with a shirt and tie on. The engineering staff performs those duties.
The toughest performance may be one flight down.
The only way to get to it is to lean a ladder up there and put some safety harnesses on it.
The view from the top certainly can't be beat. So why not a public observation deck from up here?
There's a tremendous liability to provide that, plus fire code would dictate that you'd have to have 2 more feet on either side of the stairs of 60 stories. That equates to somewhere around 100,000 rentable square feet that you cannot use. And if you'll notice, any new tower anywhere in the United States of this statute does not have a public observation.
Nations Bank does open the 49th floor for public viewing during special events like the upcoming World 600 Week. But this view from 871 feet high remains exclusive. From the highest man-made point from Philadelphia to Atlanta, Joey Popp, News 36 at 6.
And Joey says if you're wondering, there are several of those metal cables on the top to help ground lightning strikes.
Exactly like I want it, which means I'll have to spend some time here and make sure it's done right.
The Charlotte Hornet busy on and off the court these days. Get ready to buzz a little with Hornet Kenny Gaddison.
As our special report continues, Secret Sights of the Carolinas, News 36's Joey Popp meets Reserve Center Kenny Gaddison off the court. What Joey found was a genuine, personable Tar Heel native.
Here, let's do a pizza since I love pizza so
You're going to
much.
make us a pizza?
Yeah.
Okay, let's make a pizza.
Yeah.
You might find Kenny Gaddison doing just about anything in his restaurant, even making his own lunch.
This is the Gatman pizza.
This is the Gatman pizza?
This is the Gatman.
And when it's done, the soon-to-be 30-year-old Hornet likes to chow down. I'll join him for a little one-on-one.
Now,
can you eat like this in the off-season and not gain the weight? What's going to happen this summer, Kenny?
Well, this is my last big meal.
You heard it right here, folks.
That's right. Can't get away.
Gaddison is the only native North Carolinian on the team. He was born and raised in Wilmington and prides in playing in his home state.
It's a nice view of the skyline. Oh, yeah. Every day I come down here to practice, I always look at that and think about Charlotte. When I used to come up here as a teenager, the Carowinds and all that, you know, when I see how it's grown now, it's amazing.
We followed Kenny to the annual spring cleaning of his practice locker.
This is going back a long ways.
Underneath the gathered clothes, a surprise, a new shipment of original Converse sneakers.
These are my knock-around shoes during the summertime. Just sit around and just look like a clown the whole summer, basically.
But not for long. This Hornet-turned businessman isn't clowning around with his life. The father of 2 will soon move into a new home he and his wife designed. Is this your dream home?
Yeah, this is it. This is the dream home and the last one I ever built.
It should be ready soon.
Early June. So I'll get on these guys' back, though.
Are we going to hear some of that right now?
Not too hard. Not too hard. If I could get everybody to work like this guy worked, this house would have been done 2-3 weeks ago.
Hey, the pressure's on you, huh?
Yeah.
Kenny Gaddison's down-home quality shines through. He doesn't even mind talking about the noticeable scar on his left cheek.
I got that scar when I was about 2 years old. My brother and I, it was a Sunday morning, we were watching my dad shave. So after he finished shaving, we got the shaving cream and the straight razor. And I was the one who was getting shaved first.
Today, Kenny knows basketball won't last forever. The reason why he's now looking ahead and investing his money.
Basically, you give up your body and your time to basketball, and when it's over, I want to have something to show for it.
He's on his way. Joey Popp, News 36 at 6.
And Kenny's restaurant is appropriately named Gaddison's. It's located near the intersection of Quail Hollow Road and Carmel Road.
In a newscast. More good, happy news, because I think by the time the first 5 or 10 minutes of each segment are over, everybody's depressed and down every night.
First News at 5, the family newscast you asked for. Tonight on TV 36, Cable 6.
Then at 6, see the theater from the performer's eyes. I'm Joey Popp of News 36. I'll show you the secrets behind the scenes of the Belk Theater, including the $1 million organ that has never played a note. Watch Secret Sights of the Carolinas tonight on News 36 at 6.
The curtain is about to go up for a backstage tour at the Blumenthal Performing Arts Center. Well, it's one of the latest and greatest additions to Charlotte's cultural life.
We're talking about the Belk Theater, uptown North Carolina, Blumenthal Performing Arts Center. And tonight's special report, Secret Sights of the Carolinas, our Joey Popp takes us backstage, an area the audience doesn't usually get to see.
This is our star dressing room.
Welcome to backstage at the new Belk Theater.
Full bathroom, which I don't know if we want to. Full bath. And her makeup room, exactly. Wardrobe, her wardrobe will be in here. I believe they're steaming it right now.
Karen Quinn's pride in showing off this theater certainly comes through. She's especially excited when road shows roll in.
It's amazing to me that these people can put up a set. I think this is a 16-hour load-in. So it's taken these guys 16 hours to get this set together, and that's not a lot of time.
Once the show opens, this room stays busy.
This is what we call the green room, and this is where the cast and crew can come in and have refreshments and guests and that sort of thing and take a break. I guess this is where they come during intermission and before and after the show.
Facts about the stage now. It's 60 feet wide, 82 feet to the top of the grid,
and the back of the stage is 52 feet deep. And look what's at the back, a real pipe organ. But it doesn't play yet because the center needs to raise $1 million more.
But what works just fine is called the Starship, the house ceiling light show.
50 emitters, each one of them feeding a bundle of fiber optic cable which lights up 30 to 40 of the little lights that you see up there.
How does it twinkle and change color?
There is a small plexiglass wheel with little slices of color on it that rotates in front of it. It's very low tech, but it's very effective.
When the house lights are on and the ceiling's on, people are walking to their seats looking up.
But the best show is looking ahead, as the Belk Theater welcomes some of the best entertainment to Charlotte. However, on your next visit, remember this backstage tour and the hustle and bustle just behind the curtain. Joey Popp, News 36 at 6.
Their jobs. News 36 reporter Joey Popp is standing by live in Concord with the details.
Well, Rick, yes, more than 50 faculty members have received their pink slips, but that's not all. Many of those professors and teachers have not been paid since March. Well, today, some good news from the predominantly black school.
I'm pleased to report to you today that on tomorrow, May 25th, we will be issuing to all employees, both those currently working and those laid off, checks equivalent to 40% of their April paychecks. This is the first in a series of payments that we will be making to bring the payroll accounts current.
That money comes from a $100,000 donation from Board of Trustee Chairman George Shin. But Spalding doesn't know when the rest of the money will be paid off.
Barber Scotia needs to raise a minimum of $1.5 million in grants, contributions, and gifts to appropriately meet its obligations.
Hours earlier, many of the teachers and professors who've claimed they've been fired from Barber Scotia met for the first time since graduation. That meeting happened in Charlotte.
I've received a foreclosure notice for my house. Payments for my cars haven't been made.
When was the last time you were paid?
I was paid through March 15th.
Even so, the teachers believe the college can and will survive.
I'm very optimistic. I don't think, it's hard to close a school with a lot of rich history. Barber Scotia is over 127 years old, and it's going to be around. It has gone through many hardships, similar hardships before.
We wanted to get comment from George Shinn today about his contribution and also about his supposed quote that this troubled college could close. He would not return our phone calls. But Dr. Spaulding says today that, yes, he believes that there could be demise here if, in fact, this financial hardship does not end. Rick?
Joey, if they've cut more than 50 faculty jobs, what kind of enrollment could they possibly hope to have come fall?
Rick, that's a good question, and one that we asked the president today. He says that he believes 650 to 700 students will be here by fall, and by cutting the actual teacher professor ratio, you would actually raise that ratio, student-teacher. Therefore, you would have more students, less classrooms. For instance, we were given an example today. There were like 3 students to 1 professor this past year.
Okay, thank you. A continuing story we will stay with. Joey Popp reporting tonight from Concord. Is up 10% from just 1 year ago. Here it is midweek, and just in Gaston County alone, police are right now investigating 3 such cases.
The latest involves a 10-year-old boy who says his father molested him. News 36's Joey Popp talks with the authorities who investigate these cases.
Yes, sir. I think it's alarming any time that you have where children have to investigate crimes. I've had as many as 11 in 1 week. 3 is a lot.
This detective sees firsthand the increase of child sexual abuse reports. A recently new law to protect children is making sure such cases are getting extra attention. It's been almost 8 months since police have assisted social workers quicker in helping investigate alleged child sexual abuse. Before, DSS would respond first, then call police if needed. For Detective Siegel, it has meant 1/3 more work.
A lot of the cases sometimes is unsubstantiated that it did not happen.
But Siegel says 50% of the cases do pan out. So the help of 2 agencies may be paying off despite the added red tape.
The end result of it is good for the children. It's created problems for our department in terms of, especially at the intake process, it takes a lot more time to initiate investigation.
If child-adult abuse is being reported more, Siegel is also hearing more child-to-child abuse.
A 15-year-old was reported to fondling and touching a 9-year-old. We also have like a 9-year-old have been performing oral sex with a 3- and a 4-year-old.
Now, Siegel says children that small learned those acts from somebody they know. Her advice to parents: watch who your children are attended by and who they play with. An abused child may be threatened if they tell, so establish an open line of communication. The child needs to talk freely with a trusted loved one about his or her problem. Rick?
Okay, thank you, Joey.
The summer 6's Joey Popp meets the former soldier who is about to make history again.
Coming out in the region like this. Just listen to the words of this 72-year-old man, still a soldier at heart.
I'm ready to go. I want to be #1 out that door.
His clothes are ready and his body is in shape. Now Troy H. Decker is counting the days to Normandy. He's one of 38 men from across the U.S. headed back to France. They'll reenact the jump they performed 50 years ago during the D-Day invasion.
Men and women of the United States, this is a momentous hour in world history. This is the invasion of Hitler's Europe.
If it hadn't been for us, the guys would have never got off the beach without thousands more slaughtered.
His goal was to open up the causeways so ground troops coming off the beach had access. Of the 28 in his squad, only Decker and 3 others were successful. The rest were captured or killed.
I was lucky. I hit right in the middle of the jump zone.
After the war, Troy Decker returned to his Burke County, North Carolina home place, built his own home, raised his own family, and now 50 years later, he's ready to return to Normandy, not only for the jump, but for a special mission. He'll paratroop with the pictures of his buddies killed in action.
Then after the jump, I want to go down to the cemetery and find their grave, and I'll have them laminated. I'm going to slip it right down beside the tomb rock while no one's looking.
The Purple Heart recipient made 2 combat jumps, Normandy and one 3 months later in Holland.
In Holland, I was wounded the first day, in fact, before I hit the ground. And Catholic sisters picked me up, took me and hid me in a church.
He's returned to Holland several times, including this visit from 10 years ago when he re-met and thanked one of the nuns. He also reenacted that jump.
That was the greatest event I have ever participated in.
But this upcoming trip will be the first return to France.
And I feel like I should. When I do go back, I have this feeling that I can't explain.
But he can explain this, the pride he shows every day as Old Glory and the 101st Airborne flags wave above the Deckers home. Now, if you're wondering, Troy's been jumping and training in Lewisburg. That's about 200 miles from his Eichert home. He leaves next Wednesday to meet the other 37 paratroopers in Texas. From there, they fly to France. Amazing, isn't it?
That is. Those airborne guys always have such pride for what they did, too.
Yeah. And when do they finally make the jump? And I guess where are they going to do that, too?
Jesse, they're going to actually do it in Normandy, and that's going to be Sunday afternoon in Normandy, June 5th. Troy says the difference this time, they won't be shot at, and they'll jump from 3,000 feet instead of 800 feet. And to think all of this a half a century ago.
Wow. Jumps at 800 feet. That is amazing.
That's dangerous.
All right,
okay, thank you, Joey.